Chosen one, stop whatever you are doing and lock your attention on this message right now. That restlessness you have been carrying, the one that makes it impossible to get comfortable where you are, I need you to understand what that is. The enemy is working overtime right now for one reason and one reason only. He knows you are about to move. Not eventually, not someday. Now. The struggle, the in-between, the feeling of being suspended between what was and what is coming, it all ends. But here is what you need to hear clearly. It is not ending because of timing. It is ending because of what you have already done. Think back to that moment this week when you looked around at where you are, your current situation, your current environment, the walls you have been staring at. And instead of forcing something, instead of trying to manufacture a way out, you let go. You surrendered it. Maybe you did not even realize you were doing it. Maybe it felt like giving up, but you did not know in that moment that the act of releasing your grip was the act that unlocked the door. You did not delay your next chapter. You opened it. God redirected everything in your path today just to get this message in front of your eyes. So I need you to anchor your spirit right now, because what I am about to speak over you is a verdict, not a wish. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment, written into the foundations of the earth long before you typed a single word into that search bar. You are not browsing. You are arriving. Stay until the very last second of this message, because in the next few minutes, I am going to describe exactly what your new place looks like, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. I am going to show you the specific enemy assignment that has been trying to convince you that you are stuck, and I am going to hand you the decree that cancels it completely. And at the end, I am going to pray a prayer over you that seals the door to where you have been and consecrates the threshold of where you are going. Do not click away. Your future self is standing in that new place right now, looking back at this moment, begging you to stay. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere around you has not just been uncertain, it has been suffocating. Like the walls of where you are have been slowly closing in without anything you could point to and say, that is the problem. Maybe you walked through your space this week and felt a strange kind of grief. Not because anything terrible happened, but because you could feel in your bones that you do not belong there anymore. Like wearing clothes that fit you 3 years ago. The fit is wrong, and every day you spend inside it costs you something you cannot name. Or maybe it hit you at night. You were lying in your bed, staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, and instead of peace, you felt pressure. Your heart was not racing because of fear exactly. It was racing because something in you knows movement is coming, and the waiting has become almost unbearable. You feel displaced. Not homeless, but not home either. Like you are living inside a holding room between the life that ended and the life that has been promised to you. And in this in-between, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your thoughts right now. He has been telling you that the reason the new place has not appeared yet is because you are not ready. He has been replaying your recent decisions in your mind on a loop. That moment when you turned down the opportunity because it did not feel right. That moment when you said no to the person who seemed like they could help you move forward. That moment when you chose stillness over striving and then immediately questioned yourself. The accuser is telling you that those were mistakes. He is telling you that your hesitation, your waiting, your refusal to force a door open, that you have stalled your own promotion, that God was waiting on you to move and you missed the window, that the place that was prepared for you has been given to someone else while you were sitting still. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Deuteronomy 1:8 says, "See, I have set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land." Listen to the weight of that. Go in and take possession, not earn it. not manufacture it, not convince God that you deserve it. Take possession of what has already been set before you. The enemy has been twisting your stillness into evidence of failure. But what he did not tell you is that stillness before a divine move is not weakness. It is positioning. You were not sitting still because you gave up. You were sitting still because God was setting the land before you, and you had enough discernment not to move before he said go. You are not behind. You are positioned. The pressure you have been feeling is not the pressure of someone being left behind. It is the pressure of someone standing at the edge of a door that is about to open. That restlessness in your bones is not anxiety. It is readiness. Your spirit already knows what your mind is still trying to catch up to. What you thought was stagnation was actually consecration. What you thought was delay was actually preparation. What felt like nothing happening was actually everything being arranged. Your new place is real. It has been prepared. And the version of you that is supposed to walk into it, that version is who you became during the season you are standing in right now. That was not a waiting room. That was a finishing school. In the next 24 hours, one of two things will happen. Either you will wake up tomorrow morning with the same silence, the same heaviness, the same distance from God, or you will wake up to a prophetic word written as if God is speaking directly to your situation. That is what the inner sanctum delivers. Every morning, for 365 days, both paths are available right now, but only one of them is still open. Check the first pinned comment before this video ends. The heaviness you have been carrying is not the weight of a person being punished. It is the weight of a person who is finished with one season and standing at the entrance of another. You are not starting over. You are not circling back. You have never been here before because you have never been this version of yourself before. The place that is coming does not look like where you have been. It does not feel like where you have been. The ceiling is higher. The air is different, and the version of you that walks through that door will look back at this moment, this exact moment, right now, watching this message, and say, that is where I received the confirmation that I was not stuck. I was being set. And now I want to take you somewhere most messages never dare to go, because what I just described, the finishing school, the positioning, the preparation, that is the surface of what God has been doing. And if we stop there, you will walk away encouraged, but not transformed. You will feel better for a few hours, and then the weight will creep back in by morning. So we are not stopping there. Many messages offer fleeting inspiration, like a brief rain shower on parched ground. They sprinkle encouragement, a temporary balm for the soul, but fail to penetrate the deeper strata of your being. We talk about God's refining fire, His divine shaping, His meticulous placement of you in various seasons. These are crucial truths indeed. But if we mistake the polishing for the complete overhaul, if we view the outward adjustments as the entirety of His design, then we miss the magnificent root-level work He is undertaking. An encouraging word, while precious, can be like a temporary pain reliever. It soothes for a moment, allowing you to breathe, but it doesn't excise the root cause of the discomfort. True transformation, however, is not a fleeting emotion, but a fundamental change in your spiritual DNA, a renovation from the bedrock upwards. It is the difference between adorning an old structure with fresh paint and completely reconstructing it from the foundation, building something entirely new, resilient, and aligned with its ultimate purpose. If we only touch the surface, you will experience a fleeting uplift, a momentary buoyancy, only to find the familiar currents of anxiety, doubt, or stagnation pulling you back into their depths by the dawn. God's purpose for you extends far beyond superficial comfort. It is an invitation to a radical, permanent metamorphosis, a true resurrection of who you are called to be. What I need you to understand is that the new place is not just a location, It is not just a new apartment, a new city, a new job, a new relationship, or a new season on a calendar. The new place is a new version of you, operating inside a new atmosphere. And here is why that distinction matters more than anything else I could say to you tonight. People leave one place and arrive in another, and wonder why the same problems followed them, why the same patterns showed up, why the same type of people found them, why the ceiling in the new place felt just as low as the one they escaped. And the answer is always the same. They moved their body, but they did not move their identity. So often, we fixate on the external metrics of change, believing that a geographical shift or a new relationship will magically unravel the knots within our souls. We dream of a different city, a fresh start in a new career, or a transformative partnership, imagining these external shifts as the key to unlocking our freedom. Yet the profound truth I urge you to grasp tonight is that the new place God is guiding you toward transcends mere coordinates on a map or a chronological progression of time. It is not merely a different backdrop against which your old story will play out. No, the new place is fundamentally a new version of you, infused with a renewed spirit, operating within an entirely new atmosphere that emanates from your transformed inner landscape. This distinction, this sacred nuance, holds the key to true, lasting liberation, far more potent than any other revelation I could share. Consider the tragic yet common narrative of individuals who pack their bags, sever ties, and transplant themselves into what appears to be a completely different environment, only to confront the uncanny resemblance of their old struggles. They arrive, breathless with expectation, in a new apartment, a new town, a new relationship, only to be met by the haunting echoes of familiar problems. Why do the same toxic patterns re-emerge like persistent weeds? Why do the same archetypes of challenging people inevitably find their way back into their orbit? Why does the metaphorical ceiling in their brand new existence feel just as constricting, just as low as the one they desperately sought to escape? The answer, unveiled in its stark clarity, is unwavering. They successfully moved their physical presence, their external circumstances, but they neglected to relocate, or rather reconstruct, their deeply ingrained identity. They carried the blueprint of their old self, with all its limitations and unhealed wounds, directly into the nascent architecture of their future. Without an internal shift, an authentic metamorphosis of who they believe themselves to be, the external scenery simply becomes a stage for the same old play, perpetuating cycles rather than breaking them. You see, the universe, in its wisdom, often mirrors back to us the truth of our own inner state. If your identity remains tethered to scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, then even abundance will manifest as lack, and even freedom will feel like confinement. This profound truth resonates with the ancient wisdom of Romans 12:2, which implores us not to conform to the patterns of this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. It's this internal renewal, this re-identification, that creates the fertile ground for the external new place to truly flourish as a haven of peace, purpose, and unbridled potential. God is not just relocating you, He is reconstructing you, and reconstruction requires demolition first. Understand this deeply. God is not merely shuffling your geographical location or altering the superficial details of your life as if moving chess pieces on a board. No, His divine hand is engaged in an infinitely more profound and intricate work. He is reconstructing you from the very ground up, from the foundational beliefs that underpin your existence to the delicate framework of your perceptions and possibilities. Imagine an ancient, beloved edifice, rich with history and memories, yet no longer fit for its intended purpose. Perhaps its foundations have shifted, its walls have cracked, or its design has become utterly misaligned with the vision for its future. A wise and visionary architect, understanding the building's potential, would not simply redecorate the crumbling interior. No, true reconstruction, the kind that yields enduring strength and breathtaking beauty, necessitates a phase of demolition first. Before the new blueprints can be fully realized, before the robust new foundations can be laid, before the soaring new structures can take shape, there must be a deliberate, purposeful tearing down of what no longer serves. It is a dismantling, not a destruction for destruction's sake, but a strategic deconstruction that clears the way for something infinitely more glorious, more aligned with divine design, and ultimately more resilient. This demolition, though it may feel unsettling, is not an act of abandonment or punishment. It is the surgical precision of a master builder, clearing away the debris of the old to make sacred space for the new. That grief you felt walking through your current space this week, the grief that had no clear source, no single tragedy to point at, that was not confusion. That was your spirit mourning the version of you that is being taken apart. You cannot grieve what you do not value. And the fact that it hurt means that who you have been was real. The life you built in this season, even with its limitations, even with its ceilings, even with its walls that no longer fit, it was yours. And it is right and holy to feel the weight of releasing it. This week, perhaps, you've been swept by an unexpected wave of sorrow, a subtle ache that settled in your chest as you walked through the familiar rooms of your home, or navigated the routines of your current life. It was a grief without a clear origin, no sudden tragedy or overt loss to pinpoint, leaving you feeling disoriented, perhaps even confused by its presence. Let me tell you, that was not confusion. That profound, unsettling sorrow was your spirit's lament, a deep mourning for the very version of you that is actively being taken apart, disassembled piece by piece by the sovereign hand of God. Consider this truth. We cannot genuinely grieve what we do not value. The depth of the hurt you experienced, the ache of this inexplicable sorrow, serves as undeniable proof that the identity you forged in this past season, the life you meticulously constructed, however flawed or limited, was intensely real and profoundly significant to you. It was a shelter you built, a narrative you lived, a world you navigated, even with its inherent limitations, with its invisible ceilings that kept you from reaching your full height, with its once comforting walls that now feel too constricting, too ill-fitting for the expansive person you are becoming. It was uniquely yours. And in this sacred process of divine reconstruction, it is not only permissible, but deeply right and holy to feel the profound weight of releasing it. This isn't just letting go of possessions, it's shedding a skin, an identity, a deeply embedded way of being. It is an act of spiritual pilgrimage, acknowledging the past with gratitude for its lessons, even as you mourn its necessary departure. Embrace this grief, for it is a holy signal, marking the profound significance of what is transforming within you. It is the soul's eulogy for a season well lived, a testament to the fact that you lived it fully, even in its constraints, and now you are ready for a grander, divinely orchestrated unfolding. But here is where it goes deeper. The grief was not the enemy. The grief was the goodbye, and you cannot step into what is next without first honoring what is ending. The children of Israel stood at the edge of the Jordan River, and the priests had to step in before the water parted. They had to move first, not after confirmation, not after comfort. They had to plant their feet in the current before the path appeared. The very grief you've been carrying, this bittersweet pang of letting go, is not an adversary to be battled or a weakness to be overcome. No, this grief is something far more sacred. It is the necessary, holy goodbye. It is the soul's tender farewell to a chapter that, though perhaps challenging, was instrumental in shaping you. To rush past this crucial stage, to attempt to bypass the sacred ritual of honoring what is concluding, is to deny the very foundation upon which your next chapter will be built. You simply cannot fully step into the glorious "what is next" that God has prepared for you without first genuinely acknowledging, with reverence and respect, the ending of what has been. Think of the children of Israel, poised on the precipice of their promised land, gazing across the formidable surging waters of the Jordan River. Before them lay a seemingly impassable barrier, a roaring torrent that represented the ultimate test of their faith and obedience. The scripture tells us that the priests, bearing the Ark of the Covenant, were commanded to step into the river before the waters miraculously parted. They did not wait for the confirmation of a visible path, for the comfort of dry ground already revealed. Their instruction was clear. They had to plant their feet firmly in the swirling, uncertain current to feel the cold, intimidating force of the river before the miraculous division occurred. Their step of faith, their courageous entry into the unknown, was the catalyst for the divine intervention. It was an act of profound trust, a declaration that their faith was not contingent upon sight, but rather, sight would follow their unshakable faith. This is a timeless principle of spiritual progression, a divine pattern woven into the fabric of God's interaction with humanity. The courageous first step often precedes the clear manifestation of the path. Your surrender this week, that moment when you released the grip, when it felt like giving up but wasn't, that was your feet entering the Jordan, and the water is already beginning to divide. So, that deeply significant moment you experienced this week, that profound act of letting go, of truly releasing your grip on what you tried so desperately to control, that moment was not a concession of defeat. It wasn't giving up. It was a powerful, faith-filled surrender. It was the precise instant your spiritual feet entered the swirling, uncertain currents of your own Jordan River. You may have felt a tremor of vulnerability, a sense of having laid down your own meager weapons and plans. But in that very act of yielding, something magnificent was initiated in the unseen realms. Even now, even as you hear these words, the waters of impossibility that once seemed to block your path are already beginning their slow, silent, yet unstoppable division. The invisible forces of heaven are at work, responding to the purity and courage of your surrender. The path is being carved, not with a sudden dramatic roar, but with a gentle, undeniable receding, making way for the new ground upon which you are destined to walk. Trust that initial, subtle shift, for it is the harbinger of a profound and imminent breakthrough. Now, once you understand that, you are ready for this, because the next thing I need to hand you is not comfort, it is clarity, and clarity sometimes stings before it sets you free. Having embraced the profound truth of divine reconstruction and the necessity of sacred goodbyes, having courageously planted your feet in the river of surrender, you are now poised for the next, equally vital truth. What I am about to offer you is not a soft blanket of comfort, designed to simply soothe your present anxieties. While comfort has its place, it can often be a temporary anesthetic that prevents us from facing deeper realities. No, what I must place in your hands now is far more potent and ultimately liberating. It is clarity. And let me be honest, clarity is not always a gentle embrace. Sometimes, before it fully liberates, it carries a sharp, undeniable sting. It can feel like the surgeon's precise, painful incision that precedes healing, or the bright, unforgiving light that exposes shadows before they can be dispelled. This clarity will illuminate truths you may have unconsciously avoided, reveal patterns you've tolerated, and expose the subtle deceptions that have held you captive. It might initially feel uncomfortable, even jarring, but its ultimate purpose is to cut through the fog, dismantle the illusions, and set your spirit soaring into unhindered freedom. There is a specific assignment that has been operating against you, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly and systematically. The enemy has not been trying to destroy you. Destruction would have been obvious. You would have recognized it. What he has been doing is far more subtle and far more dangerous. He has been trying to exhaust you. He has been working to drain the spiritual alertness out of you by making you manage just enough chaos to keep you too busy to hear clearly, too tired to discern accurately, and just comfortable enough in discomfort that moving feels more risky than staying. For too long, a specific assignment of the adversary has been meticulously operating against you. It hasn't manifested as a thunderous roar or a dramatic, overt attack that would instantly raise your spiritual alarms. No, its methodology has been far more insidious, operating with a quiet, persistent hum beneath the surface, systematic in its approach, designed to erode your spiritual vitality almost imperceptibly. The enemy's primary goal in this season has not been your outright destruction, for destruction is often loud and conspicuous. It would have been an obvious assault, easily recognized and fiercely resisted. His strategy has been far more cunning, far more sophisticated, and therefore far more dangerous. He has been relentlessly trying to exhaust you. Imagine a constant low-grade fever that never quite breaks, or a slow leak in a vessel that prevents it from ever being truly full. He has diligently worked to drain the spiritual alertness from your being, to dull your senses and dim your inner light. His tactic is brilliantly diabolical. He orchestrates just enough manageable chaos in your life, a ceaseless stream of minor crises, demanding responsibilities and overwhelming tasks to keep you perpetually teetering on the edge of burnout. This strategic barrage ensures you are too busy, too preoccupied, and too frazzled to truly hear the still, small voice of God with clarity, too mentally and spiritually fatigued to discern accurately the path forward or the true nature of your season. And, most perilously, he has skillfully engineered a state where you are just comfortable enough in your discomfort that the thought of breaking free, of initiating change, of making a bold move into the unknown feels exponentially more risky and daunting than simply remaining stagnant in the familiar, albeit draining landscape of your current existence. This subtle trap is designed to prevent movement, to ensure you remain tethered to the very place you are being called to leave. He did not put a wall in front of your door. He put a fog around it, and in that fog, your own thoughts became his primary weapon. The adversary didn't need to construct an impenetrable wall directly in front of your exit, a barrier so obvious it would galvanize your resistance. That would have been too straightforward, too easily identifiable as an attack. Instead, with cunning precision, he conjured a dense, pervasive fog around your door, an obscuring haze that distorts vision, disorients direction, and subtly suffocates clarity. This fog wasn't a physical obstruction, it was a spiritual and mental entanglement, and in that treacherous, disorienting mist, your own thoughts became his most potent and devastating weapon. He didn't need to whisper overt lies. He simply needed to amplify and subtly twist the narratives that already existed within your mind. He used your internal dialogue, your fears, your past experiences, to create a labyrinth of doubt, making you question every step, every whisper of divine guidance, and ultimately, your very capacity to move forward. He turned your inner world into a battlefield, not with external adversaries, but with your own cognitive processes, held captive by the pervasive haze he skillfully engineered. Think about the decisions you have been second-guessing. Think about the times this week you felt a clear sense of direction, a clear inner pull towards something, and then within hours you began to dismantle it with your own logic. You were not being discerning. You were being talked out of your own revelation. And what was doing the talking sounded exactly like your own voice, which is why you trusted it. It sounded like wisdom. It sounded like caution. It used your own past wounds, your own past failures, your own history of disappointment to argue you back into stillness. Reflect for a moment on the recent cadence of your own mind. How many times this week have you felt that undeniable, clear sense of direction, that gentle yet persistent inner pull, a profound spiritual intuition nudging you towards a specific action or a bold new path? You knew, with an unshakable certainty in your spirit, that this was a divine prompting, a revelation meant just for you. Yet, within a matter of hours, or sometimes even moments, you found yourself meticulously, almost clinically, dismantling that revelation with the cold, calculated instruments of your own logic. You weren't engaging in genuine spiritual discernment, which often involves seeking confirmation through prayer, scripture, and wise counsel. Instead, you were being skillfully talked out of your own revelation, and the most insidious part was that the voice doing the talking sounded precisely like your own. It mimicked your rational thoughts, your inherent caution, your deeply ingrained sense of self-preservation, which is precisely why you implicitly trusted it. This deceptive inner monologue presented itself as wisdom, as prudence, as a mature assessment of risk, but it was, in fact, a subtle form of spiritual sabotage. It shrewdly leveraged your past wounds, those lingering hurts that have left their imprint on your heart. It invoked your past failures, the moments when you stumbled and perhaps felt foolish. It replayed your history of disappointment, reminding you of times when hope seemed to dissipate into thin air. With these painful but familiar touchstones, it masterfully argued you back into a state of inaction, a comfortable, albeit stifling stillness. But not the holy stillness of positioning, the paralyzed stillness of a person who no longer trusts their own spirit. Understand the critical distinction here. This wasn't the sacred, holy stillness that God invites us into, a stillness of deep listening, discerning preparation, and intentional positioning before Him. That holy stillness is active, vibrant, and pregnant with expectation, much like a seed quietly germinating beneath the earth, gathering strength for its emergence. No, the stillness you experienced was a chillingly different kind. It was the paralyzed stillness of a person who, through repeated cycles of self-doubt and undermined revelation, has ceased to trust their own spirit, their own God-given intuition. It is a stillness born of fear, a spiritual paralysis that holds you captive, convinced that your inner compass is faulty and that every divine prompting is merely a trick of your own desire. This is the tragic outcome of the enemy's fog, to sever your connection to your most profound spiritual knowing, leaving you adrift and inert, unable to distinguish between genuine guidance and the deceptive echoes of your past. And what is coming next will likely surprise you, because this is the part most messages never touch. Stay with me. Now brace yourself, for what I am about to unveil transcends the usual contours of spiritual discourse. This next layer of truth often remains unspoken, an elusive shadow in the periphery of most teachings, precisely because it exposes a vulnerability we rarely acknowledge. Stay with me, lean in, for understanding this deeper mechanism will illuminate the true source of many of your present struggles and prepare you to finally dismantle the subtle chains that have bound you. The enemy did not start this assignment recently. He planted the seed of this exhaustion long before this season. He found the moment, and there was a specific moment, you know which one it is. The moment when you believed God, and then it did not happen the way you expected. That moment when you stepped out and the water did not part fast enough and you felt foolish. That moment when you prayed with everything in you and the silence on the other side felt like abandonment. You did not lose your faith in that moment, but you added a condition to it. You told yourself, quietly, almost unconsciously, I will trust God, but I will not be caught off guard again. I will believe, but I will also keep one hand on the door. I will hope, but I will stay ready to manage the disappointment. This particular assignment of exhaustion, this systematic draining of your spiritual vitality, did not spontaneously manifest in your life in this current season. No, its roots run far deeper, reaching back into your past, meticulously planted by the enemy long before these recent challenges arose. He is a master strategist, and he found the opportune moment, a defining juncture in your journey, a specific moment you can likely recall with aching clarity. It was that pivotal time when you fully believed God, when your heart swelled with unbridled faith and fervent expectation, only to witness the unfolding reality deviate drastically from the divine blueprint you anticipated. Perhaps it was the moment you stepped out in audacious faith, daring to trust, expecting the waters to part instantly, only to find them remaining stubbornly still, making you feel profoundly foolish, exposed, and vulnerable in your bold step. Or perhaps it was when you poured out every ounce of your being in prayer, laying bare your deepest longings before heaven, only to be met with a resounding, desolate silence that echoed like abandonment in the chambers of your soul. In that raw, searing moment, you did not fully lose your faith. The core of your belief in God remained intact, a resilient ember within you. However subtly, almost imperceptibly, a crucial condition was added to it. Quietly, beneath the conscious radar, a self-protective vow was whispered within your heart. I will trust God, yes, but I will never again be caught off guard like that. I will believe, I will hope, but I will also keep one hand firmly on the exit door, maintaining an escape route. I will hope, but I will remain perpetually ready to manage, to mitigate the inevitable disappointment. This was a completely understandable human response to pain, a natural defensive mechanism, but it became a quiet, binding agreement that would profoundly impact your future. And that agreement, that small, self-protective, completely understandable agreement, became the ceiling. Not the enemy, not other people, not your circumstances. That agreement. And therein lies the profound revelation, the truth that cuts to the very core of your stagnation. That agreement, that seemingly innocuous, self-protective and utterly human response to past hurt, became the invisible ceiling over your life. It wasn't the external forces of the enemy that imposed the limit. It wasn't the actions or opinions of other people that held you back. Nor were your circumstances the ultimate impediment. No, the true barrier, the invisible ceiling that prevented you from soaring into the fullness of God's promise, was that deeply ingrained agreement you made with yourself. It was the internal pact born of understandable pain, the decision to guard your heart by hedging your bets with God. This agreement, though intended to shield you, inadvertently became a self-imposed prison, limiting your vision, stifling your spiritual growth, and holding captive the very breakthroughs you desperately longed for. The power of agreement, whether conscious or unconscious, is profound, for as Proverbs 23:7 declares, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." Your internal agreement shaped your external reality, creating a boundary that was more formidable than any external opposition. Because the God who parts waters does not share sovereignty with a backup plan. The God who calls you forward does not share the threshold with a person who has one foot still planted in what they are leaving. Elisha did not hesitate when Elijah's mantle fell. He burned his plowing equipment. He destroyed the thing that represented his ability to return to what he had been. He did not step into the prophetic with a safety net. He stepped in with the full weight of a person who had decided. Consider the majestic, unyielding nature of the God who parts oceans and rivers, who commands the very fabric of creation to bend to his will. This God, in his infinite power and divine sovereignty, does not coexist with a backup plan. He does not require your contingency measures or your carefully constructed escape routes. His call is absolute, his provision complete, and his path demands unreserved trust. The God who is beckoning you forward, drawing you into an expansive new future, does not share the sacred threshold of that new beginning with a heart that still has one foot planted firmly in the familiar, in what it is clinging to, or in what it is actively trying to leave behind while simultaneously holding on to. This is the profound lesson we glean from the story of Elisha. When the mantle of Elijah, heavy with prophetic anointing and divine calling, fell upon him, Elisha's response was not hesitant contemplation or a cautious "what if?" Instead, he moved with radical, decisive obedience. He took his plowing equipment, the very tools that represented his former livelihood, his ability to return to the comfort and security of what he had always known, and he burned them. He destroyed the tangible symbols of his past, severing every link to his old life, making it impossible to retreat. Elisha did not step into the breathtaking, often unpredictable realm of the prophetic with a carefully woven safety net or a secret stash of alternative plans. No, he stepped in with the full, unwavering weight of a person who had made an irrevocable decision, a choice so complete that retreat was no longer an option. His commitment was total, his surrender absolute, and it was this wholeheartedness that unlocked the fullness of his anointing and purpose. And that is what is being asked of you right now. Not perfection, not certainty, not the absence of fear, just a decision that is whole, a yes that is not qualified with a but, a surrender that does not secretly preserve the right to take it back. This same radical, wholehearted commitment is precisely what is being asked of you in this precise moment. It is not a demand for unattainable perfection, for God knows our human frailties. It is not an expectation of absolute certainty, for faith, by its very nature, navigates the unknown. Nor is it a requirement for the complete absence of fear, for courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the decision to move forward in spite of it. What God is truly asking for, with a loving yet firm hand, is a decision that is whole, a yes to his divine invitation that is pure, unadulterated, and utterly unqualified by a but, no subtle conditions or hidden clauses appended to your agreement. He is calling for a surrender so complete that it does not, in any secret chamber of your heart, reserve the right to retract it later, to pull back when the path grows steep or the waiting lengthens. This is a moment to commit, unequivocally, to the full weight of your divine calling, knowing that the God who asks you to step in is also the God who has already gone before you, preparing the way. It is a decision that seals your destiny, releasing you from the paralysis of conditional faith into the boundless freedom of absolute trust. Coming up, the hidden thing underneath even this, the root beneath the root. Because there is one more layer, and it is the one that changes everything. Prepare yourself, for we are about to delve into an even deeper stratum of truth, a hidden revelation that lies beneath the very concepts we've explored thus far. This is the root beneath the root, the foundational insight that, once truly grasped, possesses the power to recalibrate your entire spiritual trajectory. There is one more layer, a pivotal understanding, and it is the one that will definitively change everything you thought you knew about your journey, propelling you into a freedom you've only dreamed of. But first, this has to land, because there are people watching this message right now who have been faithful. And I mean genuinely, sacrificially, quietly faithful, not for an audience, not for recognition, faithful in the places no one could see, faithful when the cost was real and the reward was invisible. And those are the exact people the enemy targets with the most sophisticated lie in his entire arsenal. He does not come to the unfaithful person with this particular deception because it would not work. He saves it for the ones who have proven they are serious. And the lie is this: maybe what you have been promised was not actually for you. Maybe you misheard. Maybe you mistook your own desire for a divine assignment. Maybe what felt like a calling was just ambition. Maybe what felt like God's voice was just your own longing dressed up in holy language. Before we peel back that final transformative layer, this truth must first deeply settle within your spirit. I speak now to those among you who have walked a path of profound faithfulness. And I don't mean a performative, outward display of religiosity, but a genuine, sacrificial, and often quiet faithfulness. You have served without seeking the spotlight, labored without yearning for recognition. Your devotion has manifested most profoundly in the hidden places, in the unseen moments where no human eye could applaud your steadfastness. You have been faithful when the cost was tangible and painful, when the reward seemed utterly invisible, deferred, or even non-existent. It is precisely these devoted, resilient souls, those who have proven their seriousness in the kingdom, that the enemy targets with the most cunning and sophisticated lie in his entire arsenal. He would never present this particular deception to an unfaithful person, for it would fall flat, utterly lacking resonance. This insidious whisper is reserved for the hearts that are soft towards God, the spirits that are attuned to his voice, the ones whose dedication poses a true threat to his dark agenda. And the lie, cloaked in humility and false introspection, sounds like this: perhaps what you genuinely believed God promised was never truly intended for you. Maybe you simply misheard, your spiritual ears playing tricks on you. What if you mistook the fervent desires of your own heart for a sacred divine assignment? Could it be that what felt like an undeniable calling was merely the surging ambition of your own ego, cleverly disguised? And what if that profound, intimate whisper you perceived as God's voice was nothing more than your own deeply held longing, dressed up in sanctified language to make it palatable and plausible? And what makes this lie so destructive is that it uses your humility against you. The same spirit that keeps you from arrogance, the same heart posture that makes you teachable and soft before God, becomes the very vulnerability the enemy exploits to make you doubt the most sacred things he ever spoke over your life. The truly devastating power of this lie lies in its wicked brilliance. It weaponizes your most virtuous qualities against you. The very humility that shields you from pride and arrogance, the very heart posture that keeps you teachable, pliable, and soft before God, eagerly receptive to his whisper. This spiritual sensitivity, this divine openness, becomes the precise vulnerability that the enemy cunningly exploits. He uses your desire to be discerning, your fear of presumption, your self-effacing nature, to inject a toxic doubt into the most sacred and foundational promises God has ever breathed over your life. He preys on your gentle spirit, turning your spiritual virtues into avenues for profound self-doubt, convincing you that your deepest divine encounters were mere flights of fancy, your most cherished callings nothing more than misguided ambition. This lie doesn't just make you doubt. It seeks to invalidate the very essence of your spiritual identity and the unique blueprint God has etched upon your soul. Paul addressed this when he wrote to the church at Philippi from a prison cell, not from a pulpit, not from success, not from a place of obvious divine favor, but from chains. And he said, "I am confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion." He did not say God might. He did not say God will try. He said he will bring it to completion. The God who started the assignment in you is not capable of abandoning it midway. What looks like an interrupted story is actually an unfinished one, And unfinished does not mean cancelled. It means there are chapters you have not read yet. The Apostle Paul, a man intimately acquainted with divine assignment and profound suffering, addressed this very deception when he penned his letter to the church at Philippi. And significantly, he did not write from the lofty vantage point of a pulpit, adorned with accolades of success, or from a place of obvious, celebrated divine favor. No, he wrote from a cold, damp Roman prison cell, from within the very confines of chains, from that crucible of adversity where doubt might easily take root. He declared with an unwavering conviction, "I am confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion." Philippians 1:6. Notice the absolute, irrefutable certainty in his proclamation. He did not equivocate, did not suggest that God might complete it, or that God will try to see it through. He declared with resounding authority that God will bring it to completion. This is the unshakable nature of our covenant-keeping God. The divine architect who initiated the good work, who meticulously assigned you to this season, is not capable of abandoning his masterpiece midway. He is not a fickle craftsman who loses interest or lacks the resources to finish what he started. What may appear to your human eyes as an interrupted story, a narrative prematurely cut short, is, in the divine economy, simply an unfinished one. And unfinished does not, under any circumstance, equate to cancelled. It means, quite simply, that there are glorious redemptive chapters yet to be written, yet to be unveiled, chapters filled with testimonies and triumphs that you have not even begun to read. Hold fast to this truth. Your story is still being authored by the hand of God himself. Your calling is not in question. Your timing is not a mistake. And your faithfulness in the hidden place has not gone unrecorded. Let this truth anchor your soul. Your sacred calling, the unique blueprint etched upon your spirit by the Creator, is not in question, despite the enemy's insidious whispers. It remains intact, immutable, and divinely ordained. Likewise, your timing, the very unfolding of your journey, even through seasons of perceived delay or uncertainty, is not a mistake or a deviation from God's perfect plan. Every pause, every waiting period, every seemingly circuitous route has been intricately woven into the tapestry of your preparation. And most importantly, your quiet, sacrificial faithfulness in the hidden places, those moments of devotion, obedience, and perseverance that no human eye witnessed, no audience applauded, and no external reward acknowledged, has not gone unrecorded in the annals of heaven. Every tear, every act of steadfastness, every whispered prayer in the solitude of your heart has been meticulously noted and stored in the divine ledger. God sees, God remembers, and he honors the integrity of your hidden faithfulness. Now here is where it goes to the deepest place. Here is the confrontation. Now, we arrive at the very heart of the matter, the deepest wellspring of transformative truth. This is not a gentle invitation. This is a direct, loving confrontation with a perspective that, however unintentionally, may have held you back. Prepare your spirit, for what follows is the key that unlocks the profound mystery of your present journey and catapults you into your destined future. You have been treating the new place like a destination when God has been building it as a reflection. The place that is coming is not separate from who you are. It is a physical manifestation of the inner work you have already done, which means the delay you experienced was not God withholding. It was God waiting for the internal architecture to match the external assignment. You were not ready for the new place because the new place was not ready for the old version of you. Not because you were not enough, but because what God prepared for you requires the full version. The refined version. The version that walked through the fire and did not smell like smoke. Here is the monumental paradigm shift. the truth that will fundamentally alter your understanding. You have perhaps unconsciously been treating the new place as a mere geographical or circumstantial destination, a distant point on the horizon you are striving to reach. But in the divine economy, God has not been building it as a destination. He has been meticulously crafting it as a reflection. The glorious place that is coming, the expansive future that awaits you, is not something entirely separate from your being, an external reward to be earned. No, it is a living, breathing, physical manifestation of the profound inner work you have already diligently undertaken, often in solitude and struggle. This realization recontextualizes everything, particularly any perceived delays you may have endured. The waiting period was not God capriciously withholding blessings or punishing you with stagnation. It was God, in His infinite wisdom and perfect timing, patiently waiting for your internal architecture, the strength of your character, the resilience of your spirit, the clarity of your identity, to fully match the grand external assignment and the expansive atmosphere of the new place. You were not ready for the new place, not because you were inherently lacking, but because the new place itself, with its unparalleled opportunities, its higher callings, and its sacred responsibilities, was simply not ready for the old version of you. It was a divine act of protection and preparation, ensuring that when you finally stepped in, you would be equipped not just to survive, but to thrive in its fullness. This journey has been about becoming, not just arriving. God requires the full version of you, the refined version, the one forged in the crucible of challenge, the version that, like Daniel's companions in the fiery furnace, has walked through the intense heat of adversity and emerged not only unharmed, but without even the lingering smell of smoke. That purifying fire was not to destroy you, but to strip away all that was not essential, leaving behind a spirit of unblemished gold, perfectly prepared for the magnificent unfolding ahead. And that version is standing right here, right now, in this moment. That refined, powerful, unburdened version of you, meticulously sculpted and prepared by the hand of God through every trial and every triumph, is not a distant aspiration or a future ideal. It is not someone you are still striving to become in some elusive tomorrow. No, that magnificent, fully equipped version of you is standing right here, right now, fully present in this very moment, poised on the threshold of your grandest unfolding. Recognize it, embrace it. For this is who you truly are, unveiled and ready. But here is what you did not expect, and this is the thing that breaks the cycle completely. The new place you have been seeking, the thing you have been calling your breakthrough, your next chapter, your promised land, the version of you standing here tonight has already entered it. Not geographically, not yet, but spiritually, the crossing has happened. Because breakthrough is not a location you arrive at. It is a decision you make about who you are before the evidence appears. The moment you stop defining yourself by where you are and start defining yourself by what has already been declared over you, that is the moment the physical world begins to rearrange itself to match your spiritual reality. But here is the profound, unexpected truth that will completely shatter the old cycles and fundamentally reframe your understanding of progress. The very new place you have been yearning for, the breakthrough you have so fervently sought, the next chapter you've envisioned, your long-awaited promised land, the refined, courageous version of you standing here tonight has already entered it. Not geographically, not yet in the tangible, visible realm, but spiritually, the crossing has already occurred. This is a monumental distinction. For breakthrough is not a fixed location you finally arrive at after arduous travel. It is a profound, internal decision you make about who you are, a resolute declaration of your identity and destiny, before any external evidence manifests. It is the moment you courageously release the limited narratives of your past and stop defining yourself solely by your current circumstances, by where you presently find yourself. Instead, you pivot with unwavering faith to define yourself by the powerful prophetic declarations that heaven has already spoken over your life, by the immutable truths of your identity in Christ. That precise moment of internal alignment, when your spiritual reality becomes unshakably anchored in God's Word rather than your physical surroundings, is the tipping point. It is then that the entire physical world, with all its circumstances and opportunities, begins its miraculous, often subtle process of rearranging itself, shifting and aligning to perfectly match the spiritual reality you have claimed. This is the power of faith-filled declaration preceding manifestation, the divine principle of inner transformation dictating outer experience. This is what Caleb understood that 10 of the 12 spies did not. They all looked at the same land. They all received the same promise. But 10 of them measured the promise by the size of the obstacle. Caleb measured the obstacle by the size of the promise, and the 10 stayed in the wilderness. Caleb walked into what was spoken over him 40 years earlier, still standing, still strong, still declaring, "Give me this mountain." This profound principle, this unwavering conviction, was perfectly embodied by Caleb, a man whose faith transcended the limitations of his peers and the challenges of his time. He possessed a clarity that eluded the other 10 spies sent to scout the promised land. All 12 spies beheld the exact same fertile land, a land flowing with milk and honey. All 12 received the exact same divine promise from God Himself, that this land was theirs for the taking. Yet their responses diverged dramatically. 10 of the spies, overwhelmed by fear and human logic, measured the magnificent promise of God by the intimidating, colossal size of the giants and fortified cities that stood as obstacles. They allowed the perceived enormity of the challenge to dwarf the omnipotence of the giver. Caleb, however, with a spirit infused with divine perspective, reversed the equation entirely. He measured the imposing obstacles, the towering giants, not by their physical stature, but by the immeasurable, unwavering magnitude of God's promise. He saw the giants as mere inconveniences in the face of an almighty God's decree. And what was the outcome of these differing perspectives? The 10, trapped by their fear and limited vision, perished in the wilderness, forever bound to the limitations they imposed upon themselves. Caleb, however, despite waiting 40 long years, walked into the very inheritance that was spoken over him as a young man. He stood strong, his vigor undiminished by time, his faith unyielding, and with an unshakable roar he declared, "Give me this mountain." Joshua 14:12. He wasn't pleading, he was proclaiming possession based on a promise. Give me this mountain. Not someday, not when the circumstances confirm it. Now, that is your posture from this moment forward. Not desperate petition, not anxious waiting, declaration, possession. The posture of a person who knows what has already been prepared and is simply walking toward it with the full expectation that the ground will hold. Give me this mountain. These are not merely words, they are an anthem, a spiritual battle cry, a declaration of divine authority. Notice the absence of equivocation, the immediate, audacious claim. It's not a hesitant someday, relegated to an uncertain future. It's not a conditional when the circumstances finally align and confirm it. It is a resounding, unwavering now. This, my friend, is your new posture, your divine stance from this moment forward. It is a profound departure from desperate petition, from agonizing, anxious waiting that saps your spiritual energy. Instead, it is a confident, empowered declaration. It is the sacred act of possession, not through striving or force, but through faith-filled alignment with what God has already spoken. This is the posture of a person who, deep within their spirit, absolutely knows what has already been prepared for them, a truth sealed in the halls of heaven. And from this place of unshakable knowing, you simply walk toward it, not tentatively or with trepidation, but with the full, joyous expectation that the ground beneath your feet will not only hold, but will solidify and rise to meet you, manifesting the reality of God's promise with every step you take. The enemy's assignment over your life does not end because circumstances improve. It ends because you stop agreeing with it. It ends tonight. Not when the new place appears physically. Tonight, in your spirit, in the way you speak over yourself from this moment forward, in the way you refuse to carry labels that were placed on you by people and seasons that no longer have authority over your life. Understand this crucial truth. The insidious assignment of the enemy over your life, that subtle work of exhaustion and doubt, does not dissolve merely because your external circumstances begin to improve. Its termination is far more profound, far more internal. It ends the moment you decisively stop agreeing with it, the moment you withdraw your spiritual consent from the lies and limitations he has whispered into your ear. And that ending is happening tonight. Not when the new job offer lands, not when the new apartment keys are in your hand, and not when the new relationship blossoms. No, the enemy's assignment ends tonight, in your spirit, in the sacred chambers of your heart, in the powerful way you begin to speak over yourself from this moment forward. It ends in your resolute refusal to carry any longer those worn-out, limiting labels that were imposed upon you by past hurts, by well-meaning but misguided people, or by seasons that no longer hold any authority over your liberated life. You are dismantling his stronghold by reclaiming your voice, by aligning your words and your beliefs with the divine declarations of heaven, and by choosing to walk in the freedom of your true identity. And now, before we close, I want you to understand something about the next 24 to 72 hours. The confirmation you have been waiting for is already in motion. You may not see it when you wake up tomorrow morning, but between now and the moment that door opens physically, there will be a shift in your spirit that precedes everything else. A quieting of the noise, a settled knowing in your chest that does not require explanation. That is not wishful thinking. That is what the Bible calls the peace that surpasses understanding. It stands guard over your heart and your mind, and when it comes, and it is coming, do not analyze it. Do not interrogate it. Receive it as the first sign that what was promised has begun to move. As we draw this sacred time to a close, I want to imprint upon your spirit a vital understanding concerning the immediate future, specifically over the next 24 to 72 hours. The profound confirmation you have so earnestly been awaiting, that undeniable sign from heaven, is already in motion. It is actively weaving itself into the fabric of your reality. You may not wake up tomorrow morning to a dramatic, overt manifestation of this shift. The physical evidence may not yet be tangible or visible to your natural eye. However, between this very moment and the eventual physical opening of that new door, there will be an unmistakable internal shift within your spirit, a profound inner recalibration that will precede and prepare the way for everything else. You will experience a profound quieting of the incessant noise, a silencing of the anxious chatter and the relentless second-guessing that has plagued your mind. A deep, settled knowing will take root in your chest, a peace so profound that it requires no explanation, no external validation, and no logical justification. This is not mere wishful thinking or a fleeting emotional uplift. This is precisely what the scriptures describe as the peace that surpasses all understanding, Philippians 4:7. A divine sentinel strategically placed by God Himself to stand guard over your heart and your mind, protecting them from the onslaught of doubt and fear. And when it comes, and I declare to you with absolute certainty it is coming, do not analyze it with your intellect. Do not interrogate it with your questions. Simply receive it. Receive it as the unequivocal, undeniable first sign that what was divinely promised has now begun its unstoppable, tangible movement into your physical reality. It is your internal compass recalibrating, preparing you for the external journey ahead. The people in your life who could not celebrate your potential will not recognize your promotion immediately. Do not wait for their acknowledgement. Do not explain yourself to every room you are leaving. There are some doors you will close behind you quietly, with grace, without ceremony. And that is not abandonment. That is consecration. You are not punishing where you have been. You are honoring where you are going by not dragging the old atmosphere into the new one. As you step into this unprecedented season of elevation and alignment, be prepared for a certain reality regarding those around you. The people in your life who, for reasons often rooted in their own limitations or unaddressed insecurities, could not celebrate your potential, may not immediately recognize your promotion or acknowledge the profound transformation taking place within you. Do not for a single moment halt your progress or defer your joy while waiting for their acknowledgement or validation. Your journey is divinely sanctioned, not humanly approved. Furthermore, there will be no need to provide lengthy explanations or detailed justifications to every room, every season, or every relationship you are gracefully leaving behind. Some doors you will simply close quietly with profound grace and entirely without ceremony. This act of disengagement is not a punitive abandonment of your past. It is a sacred act of consecration. It is an honoring of where you are going, a deliberate choice to safeguard the pristine atmosphere of your new place by refusing to drag the heavy, draining energies and narratives of the old one into it. You are not punishing the past. You are protecting your future, ensuring that the new ground you stand upon remains vibrant, pure, and undefiled by what no longer serves your highest good. This is spiritual maturity in its most elegant expression. Your new place has a specific peace attached to it, a specific ease, not the absence of challenge, the presence of alignment. The things that drained you in the last season will not follow you there, not because the world changes, but because you will have changed enough to stop carrying what was never yours to carry. The new place that awaits you, the spiritual and physical reality God has meticulously prepared, comes with a very specific, discernible peace attached to it. It carries a particular ease, a rhythm of grace that will distinguish it from every previous season. This is not to say that it will be an existence devoid of challenges. Life, in its very nature, will always present opportunities for growth and refinement. Rather, this peace and ease stem from the profound presence of alignment. You will be operating from a place of spiritual synchronicity, where your inner being, your actions, and your divine purpose are harmoniously integrated. The constant striving, the incessant battling, and the sheer exhaustion that characterized the last season will not follow you there. And this isn't because the external world will suddenly morph into a utopian paradise. No, it is because you will have changed enough. You will have been so profoundly reconstructed and refined that you will simply cease to carry what was never truly yours to bear in the first place. You will have shed the burdens of other people's expectations, the weight of self-imposed limitations, and the spiritual baggage of past disappointments. This new place is a testament to your transformation, a physical manifestation of your liberated spirit. Place your hand over your heart right now and speak this with me. I release every false verdict that was spoken over my life in the seasons that are ending. I release the weight of every door I was not supposed to carry open. I release the timeline that fear constructed, and I receive the timeline that heaven authored. I break agreement with the lie that my waiting was my wasting. I declare that my faithfulness in the hidden place has been recorded, and the God who assigned me to this season is the same God who is walking me out of it. I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not the sum of my most difficult chapter. I am the person God finished building in that chapter, and I step forward now, not in striving, not in desperation, but in the settled confidence of someone who has been positioned, prepared, and is now released. My new place is real. My assignment is intact. The door is open, and I walk through it in the full authority of everything God declared over me before I was born. If this message has confirmed something in your spirit, something you already knew but needed to hear spoken out loud, then do not let this moment pass without making a declaration in the comments. Write the words, "I am stepping through," not for performance, not for the algorithm, but as a verbal seal over what just shifted in you. Words carry weight. Declarations have power. And there is something significant about the act of announcing, even in a comment section, even in a few words, that you received this, that it landed, and that you are moving forward. Your future self is already standing in that new place, and they are asking you to seal this moment.